Hey guys, it's Faye from Solar Flow and I am back with an all new video. Today's topic is Ask Me Anything. This is your guys' burning questions and my channeled information as the answers. So if this sounds good to you, please stick around, and if not, I will catch you at another video. Now, before we dive in, I'm just going to share maybe about 2 minutes of housekeeping before we dive into the actual topics that you guys have requested I look into. So even if you are a seasoned solar flower and you are well aware of the way that the AMAs work, I'm going to request that you stick around anyway, especially if you are new here. So first and foremost, this is where I'm just going to say that because channeling is not like painting by numbers, and it is not a precise science. It's very dependent on my mood or my energy level or the energy level of the person that I am going to. You can ask me to look into a topic and their energy just choose may not to come in. It happens far more than you might actually think. Which is why if you have asked me a question or a topic to look into and I have not yet shared it, it is probably not for a lack of trying, but because that either particular topic or particular person's energy just was not forthcoming for whatever reason. I do keep a running list of all of the topics you guys have requested that I look into, and I do try to go back to topics on more than one occasion. And if it's a really, really hot topic, I will go back again and again and again until the person's energy acquiesces, as is the case with Miss Taylor Swift, whose energy did come in, and she's gonna get her own video probably next week sometime. But I got amazing topics to look into for today, and the ones that I myself thought were particularly interesting or notable, when you're looking through the timestamps, I have indicated those topics that I thought were interesting with a little asterisk or a little star. So if you just want to get a little insight into what I thought was notable or meaningful or interesting, look for those stars, but by all means, please do let me know which topics you enjoyed when you're watching this on your own. And with that in mind, let's dive on in. So the first topic I was asked to look into is what is this? A short film. The name of this short film is I Goat. This is a 2012 Canadian animated short film. And the title, I Goat, references the pet goat, which is the name of the book that George W. Bush was reading to those kids in a Florida school during the time of the 9/11 attacks. So before we even dive in to the energy read on this short animated film, maybe this is going to give you some insight into what it was perhaps about. Now, I'm going to share with you that as I actually watched the short film 2 times. And I had done that because it's not very long, it's like 7 minutes long. The first time I had watched it, I just wanted to allow myself to absorb everything in it. And then as I started to watch it, I was like, holy fucking hell. There is so much symbolism in this 7-minute short film that I rewatched it a second time, and I started to jot down notes of everything that I had seen in that short, brief 7-minute period. And I'm sure there is tons of symbolism that I myself didn't even catch. But just to give you an example of some of the symbolism that I caught, there are Masonic floors, which is black and white checkered floors. It shows George W. Bush wearing a dunce cap. George W. Bush then morphs into Obama, because if you've been here for a while, you know that all of the presidents are interchangeable with one another because they are all owned. There is also a reference to Osama bin Laden and how he had on his shirt or his jacket a CIA pin. And I have done a members exclusive deep dive into 9/11 and Osama bin Laden. And what came out in that reading was that Osama bin Laden was a CIA shell. So he's wearing a CIA pin in this Canadian animated short film. In addition to that, there are fighter pilot jets that were in the shape of a Masonic triangle, which also, if you've been here for a while, you know that wars as well as the false flags are events that are orchestrated by the Masons or secret organizations. There was also tons of 9/11 symbolism, tons of Egyptian symbolism, tons of reptilian symbolism, and images of mind control as well. So this 7-minute short animated film, holy fucking hell, is it chock full of symbolism that if you're awake and aware, you'll catch and you'll know. So let's see what the energy of this film, I Goat, is behind the veil. So I Pet Goat, or I Goat, which is written and directed by somebody named Louis Lefebvre, was divinely received. So all of the information of what he chose to share in this film was divinely received. And Louis would see little snippets of the truth in the shower, taking out the trash, gardening, or whenever his mind was at ease. So in other words, he was receiving downloads because Louis has the gift of claircognizance. But instead of dismissing it, like Alice in Wonderland, he followed the little white rabbit and fell down some hella deep rabbit holes. But it was more than just 3D research, because Louis, being so incredibly gifted and having the gift of claircognizance, was like an antenna, and he continued to receive in his sleep, and was incredibly inspired to create and share and to just speak the truth that was so obvious to him, but to do it in a clever way, and to do it in a way that was just a harmless little short film. And it was done that way so that those who didn't yet know wouldn't see what they were not yet ready to see, but that those who were in the know would see it and would know he's one of us and he gets it. What is remarkable is that some of the images also seem to foretell future events, and again, this is because it was divinely received. Did he actually know that these things were going to come to pass? No. He just knew what he had seen, what he had received, and knew that he had to share it. So Louis, seeing these images, is not another case of a Matt Groening, who is the creator of the long-running cartoon, The Simpsons. Because when I myself have looked into Matt Groening, what was shown to me is that he, in fact, Matt Groening, the creator, is in the club. And he does allow himself to be open, to receiving, being inhabited by entities that will help him be more creative or to be more inspired in his creative endeavors. But in addition to that, it's where Matt Groening himself, being a Freemason, receives talking point memos of what to add in case these things come to pass, and that to satisfy the Cabal's laws of karmic retribution, they've already told us about it. Because there are many, many events that Matt Groening seemed to have foretold in The Simpsons. And there are a lot of content creators that are sharing so many things, either on TikTok or Instagram, where they've outlined all of these things that Matt Groening had shared years prior to them coming to pass. And it's like, well, how did he know that? He knew it because he was given a talking point memo of a potential thing that was going to come to pass. And again, to satisfy the Cabal's laws of karmic retribution, they had to tell us. Doesn't matter if not everybody sees it. Doesn't matter if the people who do see it take it just to be fictitious or somebody's imagination. They've already released the information out into the world. But Lewis and his downloads of I Goat is not another case of a Matt Groening. Because Lewis was not sitting down with the intention of connecting to dark entities so that he could then commune with them and to create what was shown to him with us in future episodes a la Matt Groening. The information fell into his head because that's the way downloads work. Like, I don't know, I can't even tell you how many times I'm just like sitting in my car listening to music and just like information falls into my head. Because that's the way it works. Claircognizance information, it's like literally just receiving a download. So with Lewis, it was very much the same way, where the information would fall into his head and it would just show up without him having the intention to receive it. Because as an antenna and somebody that is incredibly gifted, he is a conduit of information for the good. So that is what I have for you on the short Canadian animated film I Goat. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, this next topic that I was asked to look into is on the rock band Bon Jovi, and more specifically about the lead singer, Jon Bon Jovi. So let's see what was shown to me. So first and foremost, prior to looking into the energy of either Jon Bon Jovi or his bandmates, I did do a little bit of three-dimensional research. So Bon Jovi is an American rock band that formed in New Jersey in 1983. Jon Bon Jovi, the lead singer, has an estimated net worth of, are you ready for this? $410 million. Surely that's got to mean something. Let's find out what. So as soon as I connected to the energy of either Jon Bon Jovi himself or the bandmates, what was shown to me is that they were already a sort of a somebody, or they were certainly a successful enough band in their own right prior to them even being approached to join the club. Because again, they established their group in 1983. And the music industry really was not fully infiltrated until maybe somewhere in the 1990s. I'm going to estimate and say somewhere between like 1992 and 1995, it wasn't really starting to be infiltrated fully, and certainly not in the extent that it is today, where all of the artists are more or less owned and operated. So they got maybe like a 10-year head start prior to the cabal getting their greedy little fingers into the pot. So they were established, they had some success already. So they were already a bit of a somebody in their own right, but it wasn't entirely surprising that they were approached and they were offered membership to a so-called exclusive club. And they were told that there was not going to be any major changes that they would have to make to their life overall, but it was more that they were wanted for so-called portfolio diversification purposes. Now, this is akin to, imagine if you will, there's a financial investor, and this investor wants to have a very diverse portfolio and a number of investments that they can use to then entice new clients to want to sign up with them as a financial advisor. So it was sold to the members of Bon Jovi that this was done with the purpose of wanting to entice new clients to invest, but this is not an investment firm, and the clients are not clients to invest their money, but it's more done for the purpose of any newcomers, up and comers that were going to then be approached, that they could say, look at all of these bands that we represent, one could say, or look at all of the bands that are friends of ours. So it was sold to them with the intention of them just being used for diversification purposes, but not necessarily that they were going to have to make any tremendous changes either to their life or their music. So they were told that the club, as in this so-called financial investor, like to have musicians on their roster to show that other bands and other musicians, to make it appealing for other people that they would be approaching in the future. They had heard of this exclusive club at that point, of course, because at that point everyone had. Because at the point that the music industry was infiltrated, they kind of took the industry by storm. So they kind of figured, even prior to being approached, that it wouldn't be long until they were. And at some point they were approached. They are, in fact, despite Jon Bon Jovi's incredible financial success, what was shown to me is that they are, in fact, pretty low level, because they really did have a fair amount of success prior to joining the club. But the club likes to say that they own them nonetheless. Now, what was also shown to me is that they did drink the so-called juice, and if you know, you know. They did drink the juice at some point as well, and they really liked the crazy sex that they had had thereafter, but they have since cleaned themselves up. So that is what I have for you on Jon Bon Jovi and the band Jon Bon Jovi. Any questions, please do let me know down below. Now, this next topic I was asked to look into is an American magician, or so-called illusionist, by the name of David Copperfield. Now, what one might say is particularly notable is the fact that David Copperfield has an estimated net worth of $1 billion, with a B, dollars. Not million, billion. David Copperfield is a billionaire, y'all. And yes, we might say that that is of note. Certainly I would say that that is notable. So let's see what David Copperfield, the billionaire David Copperfield's energy, wanted to share with me. David Copperfield has a smarmy, better than thou energy and air about him. Want to know why? It's because David Copperfield was raised in the club. Any surprise? There really shouldn't be at this point. You don't get to be worth $1 billion almost exclusively unless you're in the club. Yes, true, there are outliers. I have spoken about them extensively, and if you want to know who are some examples of them, you can comment down below and I will point you in the direction of some of my content in which I have explored some people that are not mega million or billion heirs because they are in the club, but they're really few and far between. But this is not the case with David Copperfield. Homeboy, billionaire homeboy, raised in the club. But although he was raised in the club, he also went his own way. So whereas those he grew up with in the club went on to either become actors or politicians or lawyers for lobbyist firms in Washington, or to sit on boards of big pharma and big agriculture, he went in a different way. He wanted to become a magician. And it was shown to me that David Copperfield was incredibly observant as a child. And even at a very young age, he realized that the entire world was basically made up of smoke and mirrors. So he loved the idea of demonstrating on a big worldwide scale and to the masses how everything we see is smoke and mirrors. So it's all of his performance acts and his different illusionary tricks are, if you will, a reveal. But this is a different kind of a reveal, because this is one that one could not ever fully believe what they see, because we have been trained to believe that our senses are fallible. But also, we have been really trained not to believe what we see anymore anyway. So in some perverse way, he was showing us exactly how the world works and operates. It's a sleight of hand, if you will. It's misdirection. It's look here, not there. It's all that really everything we see is fake, and it's only real because of our mutual acceptance and our belief in it and of it. Because magic is real, but not the way that David Copperfield wants us to think it is. Because what's been shown to me is that real magic in the world is more akin to the shit Hollywood shows us in their superhero films. As in, we all have incredible gifts and abilities and capabilities. We just don't know that we do. Because we've been told, or it's been sold, or it's been introduced to us as if all of these things is fiction. And it's just a product of somebody's imagination. Nothing to see here, it's all fake fiction. Because we are, in fact, limitless. But those that are creating the films, that are presenting it in a fictitious way, don't want us to know that. So instead we are given hints. And one of the hints that we are given is by way of the fake shit that David Copperfield shows us. Just as they told us, red meat is no good for us any longer, but Beyond Burger is just beyond. It's the same with magic. It's not real, as in magic is not real, except what these magicians that are usually in the club, certainly in the club if they are a household name, are choosing to show us. That's why David Copperfield's energy is so smarmy. Because he is showing us with misdirection, but it's not the kind we think. And it's not really for entertainment purposes either. But it's to lie and to deceive us and to rub it in our faces how dumb, in fact, we are to them, that we have not yet figured it all out. That is what I have for you on David Copperfield. And if you were wondering why I was turning my head like this at the end, I'm going to actually, just for shits and giggles, I'm going to actually show you how I wrote the notes in my notebook. I'm also going to preface this by saying, it's not like I don't have ample notebooks to write my notes in. Because I do so much channeling, I probably have 5 backup blank notebooks at any given time that I know I could just crack out if I like run out of space in a notebook. It's just because I was like, oh, we're getting to the end. I don't want to start channeling onto the next page. So this is the way my notes actually looked. So homeboy started over here, David Copperfield. I wrote some 3D information about him. Okay, so I have the entire first page. I have the second page. I was like, oh, I'm getting to the end. I don't want to turn over the page and start over. So I got to the bottom of the page over here. I went to the top of the page over here, and then I was like, I just have one more line. Why start a new page? So then I started writing over here. Please don't believe that anything you see on YouTube with content creators, because we're on YouTube, please don't believe it's because we have our shit together. I assure you I do not. I am just like everybody else. I am just winging it. I'm winging my life. I'm winging my eyeliner. I'm just winging everything just like you. I don't got my shit together just because I'm on YouTube, guys. I promise you. It's like, really? Really? Yes, really. This is the way my notes looked. I'm writing in like the binding of the page. So I just thought it was funny to share that with you. That's what I have for you on David Copperfield. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, the next topic I was asked to look into is a singer by the name of Janet Jackson. This is maybe a little bit more of a dark subject matter, so keep that in mind prior to watching this segment. Guys, there is no shame in protecting your energy and investing in your self-care first and foremost. If you think you might be triggered by this, I'm really going to encourage you to just skip to the next segment, okay? So Janet Jackson, for anyone who is not familiar, is an American singer, dancer, and an actress. She is also the youngest Jackson child. I think she's the 10th out of 10. Her father is Joe Jackson. One of her brothers was Michael Jackson. Her other brothers were members of the band called I think it was like the Jackson 5 or something like that. I have previously done a video on Michael Jackson that is linked down below. If you want to go back and you want to watch that one, it's gnarly as well. You have been forewarned. But if you want to get a little additional context for what the childhood of the Jacksons was like, you're going to want to watch that video, and I will share some additional context here as well. Now, Janet Jackson has an estimated net worth of $180 million. Let's see what Janet's energy wanted to share with me. Janet Jackson feels like her life should be a cautionary tale. Or maybe a movie titled, quote, "What happens when your father is blinded by greed and sells his own kids out for a dime?" End quote. Or really, maybe the name of the film should be retitled For a Nickel, because whatever it was that Joe Jackson sold his kids out for, it was not enough for what they were put through, according to Janet Jackson. It could have been $1 billion, $100 billion. It really doesn't matter to Janet how much it was, because it wasn't enough. There is no amount of money that would ever make what she went through enough. And although she doesn't share all of what she went through, she did share a little bit with me. First and foremost, her brother Michael is gone. All their childhoods, as in all of her other 9 siblings, their childhoods had no business even being called a childhood because they were never allowed to be children, but they were sold to the highest bidder and then whored out to the world as performers. And she has tried to put her life together in some meaningful way. But she's a product of the system. And the music industry is the only system she in fact knows. And it's the only way she knew how to make money. And overbearing and abusive relationships are the only version of so-called love that she herself even knows. Because of the relationship she had, first and foremost, with her father. Overbearing and abusive. And then it was called love. So the only association she has to love is unhealthy, overbearing, and abusive relationships. So Janet concludes they're all broken. Her and all of her siblings are broken. But at least we were all entertained, right? That is what I have for you on Janet Jackson. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, I'm going to skip some pages because this is where I had channeled the information on Bojo. Boris Johnson, or the former Prime Minister of the UK. Incredibly insightful video. Even if you think you are not going to enjoy it, I really encourage you guys to go back and watch it. Because man, oh man, was that like everything and the kitchen sink included. A lot of very insightful information had come out. So if you have not yet seen it, I really encourage you to see it. Now, the next topic I was asked to look into is a woman by the name of Shania Twain, who is a Canadian singer and songwriter who has an estimated net worth of $400 million. It's sick, isn't it? So this is something that I feel like I'm a bank teller at this point. Because, you know, I'm always looking into these celebrities' estimated net worth. It's like I'm looking into like Monopoly money at this point. It's like, it's not even real anymore. I think this is what it must feel like to be a bank teller. You're dealing with other people's money. I mean, I'm really not dealing with it. I'm just looking into it and reporting back to you on it. But like, imagine being a bank teller. Maybe these bank tellers are making, I don't know, I'm making this up, $20, $25 an hour. And they're dealing with people that could potentially have many, many thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, certainly. I mean, I remember I was once in the bank and a guy was taking out $30,000 in cash. This is me one time being in the bank, one time when a person was taking out $30,000 in cash. Imagine these bank tellers and the amount of money that they are like seeing other people have. I imagine it must be crazy making. So I'm at the point where it's like, you know what, guys, misery loves company. No, not really. I would never take that approach. The approach is because we're dealing with celebrities and they all have these insane estimated net worths. It's important to share that with you because context is key. And in the context of understanding just how many of them are owned and operated, that's why they have these insane amounts of money and we don't. Let's see what Shania's energy wanted to share with me. Shania Twain finally relented. After years, or certainly what felt like years, she gave in. What can she say? The going got tough She needed something more. She started to age, and she felt it. They promised her youth, money, and a seat at the table, so she signed on the dotted line, and she hasn't looked back. And that is what I have for you and Shania Twain. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, this next one is super wild. I was asked to look into the DNA testing and health screening services by the name of 23andMe. Now, what is interesting about 23andMe, one could say, is that Sergey Brin, one of the co-founders of Google, was married to one of the co-founders of 23andMe. I'm sure it's just a coincidence. I'm sure the search engine that collects information to share information, I'm sure it's just a coincidence that this genetic testing services that was collecting genetic information on people, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Nothing to see here, you conspiracy theorist. Let's see what 23andMe actually serves the purpose behind the veil. Here we go. 23andMe is connected to drug use. And I was like, say what now? Yes, it is connected to drug use. Because 23andMe and all of these other genetic testing companies are not working for us, we the people, and they were not actually designed for us either. I wonder why. What they were in fact designed for was to track and monitor gene expression and gene mutation due to environmental stressors. Like, how much can we fuck with these useless eating humans? How much can we poison their food? Dumb them down by adding fluoride to the water? How sick can we make them with all that we do to them? And what does that do to them on a genetic level? Oh, it's not enough? Okay, let's now add 5G towers on every block so we can radiate the hell out of them some more. So 23andMe was in fact designed behind the veil to track big pharma's impact and big agriculture's impact on us and the cabal's process in making us sick, dying, and dead. And the best part is, because we don't know that that's the actual intention of these genetic testing services, we would submit our own DNA to them, and willingly. Now, this is where I'm going to say I've never submitted any of my DNA to these companies. No one in my family, to the best of my knowledge, has either, which I'm kind of grateful for. But the reason that I'm actually sharing this is because I don't know what one could say my genealogy is on a three-dimensional nature, because these genetic testings are not telling us the full breadth and scope of what they're actually discovering, because again, they weren't created for us. It's not like we're going to tell you what your genealogy is and it's going to be groundbreaking, but again, albeit I don't know because I haven't had like my genetic testing ever done. But what the testing is not going to tell you is what percentage of your DNA is extraterrestrial. It's not going to tell you what percentage of your DNA is divine. It's not going to tell you what percentage of your DNA comprises you being a starseed or you not being a starseed, or the percentage of your DNA that has actually been spliced with animal DNA, because that's in fact happened as well. Because again, the tests have not been made for us. It was made for the cabal to see how much their efforts to make us sick are actually working. We are just submitting it to them because we think we're getting something incredible and magnificent in return, albeit I don't know what my genealogy report would be. Ostensibly, it would probably say I'm like 100% Ashkenazi Jew. I don't really know though. Like, is there a potential that I'm, I don't know, 10% Mongolian? Yeah, sure. But again, the testing is not done for us. It's done for them to track their progress in what they are doing to us. Now, if you yourself are somebody that has actually submitted to your DNA to one of these testing companies, I would be really curious to hear from you what the results were, and if you felt like the results that you got back were really groundbreaking or informative in some way. Because again, I'm sharing with you through the lens of I haven't had this done, so I don't know how amazing the results would be. But again, I want you just to keep in mind, even if you have had your DNA tested with them, it's really not, you're maybe getting like 50% of the picture in what is actually comprising your DNA. They're not sharing with you everything because they're not testing for everything, and they don't want to share with you the actual goods of what comprises your DNA. Because again, it's not for us, it's for them. Now, here's something interesting though that was shown to me while I continued to look into it, which is that although the intention of 23andMe was to get us unknowingly to submit our DNA samples to them so they could track and monitor the progress of how sick they're in fact making us, something unexpected had happened. Yes, they were able to see that people were in fact getting sick. Yes, people's mitochondria was in fact breaking down. Yes, there was in fact quite a bit of cellular mutations, but they were also starting to see something that they could not explain. And that is that about 10 to 15% of the samples they had received were impervious to external stressors. But since they already had the person's DNA, they were like, let's see if we, in a lab, introduce these genetic samples to other stressors, let's see what will happen. So they were actually taking some of the samples that were submitted to them and they were altering it. And how were they altering it? They would introduce some of these samples to cancer cells to see if the introduction of cancer would cause there to be genetic breakdown in some of these samples. The cancer did nothing. So what did they then do? They would take these samples and they would introduce the HIV virus to it to see if the samples would break down if they were introduced to HIV. Nothing would happen. What did they next do? They would take these samples and they would introduce the Ebola virus to it. But none of these viruses that they took the liberty of testing without a person's consent, I remind you, none of these viruses could lead to cellular degeneration. And I remind you, since the goal of this was to track what happened when our DNA was introduced to elements designed to make us sick and to depopulate the earth, not entirely, just enough so that the elite had their own fleet of slaves, but just enough to wipe out enough of us so there was enough of us left to be living in servitude, not like we haven't been prior to that. the fact that all of these introductions of further viruses wasn't breaking the gene samples down just would not do. So what did they next do? It was shown to me like those memes where they are taking portions of the Austin Power movie and how they use it to illustrate how the distractions aren't working, so they would just release another. Like, oh, C-19 isn't scaring enough people. Let's create a race war and throw everybody into a tizzy. It's kind of like that. Because while the traditional stressors were not working, and the further introduction of viruses that ordinarily would cause cellular degeneration were also not working, what they decided to do was flood the streets with drugs. Not just the streets, although that was the first course of action. I will explain in a moment. But like, let's lace all the street drugs with fentanyl. So what they started to do is create new designer drugs. Just like they added food coloring to the food supply to make us sicker. So they started adding fentanyl to the drugs that were already on the market, and certainly the drugs that were already being distributed to the streets. Because every medication now made by Big Pharma, I'm sorry guys, if you take them, this is what was shown to me. You can do with this what you will. But all of the medication that is currently made by Big Pharma is being laced with fentanyl. It could be low levels of fentanyl, it's still being laced with fentanyl. This is also going to explain why Big Pharma medications do lead to people being unalived by them. Even though they're supposed to be regulated by the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, which is just another corrupt branch of the government. So even though the so-called Food and Drug Administration is designed to administer the food and the drugs that we take to see if it's actually safe for us, you don't have to be awake to know something isn't right with our food and something isn't right with our over-the-counter or prescribed medication. So all medication created by Big Pharma has low-level fentanyl laced in it, in addition to all of the drugs that is on the street and all of the drugs that is being distributed to the drug addicts that are living in safe haven cities like San Francisco. Because surely one day, one person is gonna have a headache, or they're gonna be anxious, or they're gonna be depressed about the world that they live in, because every time they turn on the news, it's all doom and gloom, all by design. So one day, someone's gonna be anxious, or they're gonna be depressed, and they're gonna go get themselves a prescription for an anti-anxiety or anti-depression medication, and then they're either gonna die because they're being poisoned with fentanyl, or their neurotransmitters are going to be so numbed out from the medication that it won't even matter, that their cells aren't degenerating and that they're not even gonna die from it, because they're going to be so numbed out to their life that they will not rise up anyway. Or we'll just continue to make them so damn broke that maybe they'll end up living on the street, and then they'll shoot up all day with the fentanyl-laced drugs that we're distributing to them. So 23andMe was just really designed to track and monitor and then to create new and creative ways to continue to destroy us. That is what I have for you on 23andMe. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, I'm going to skip some pages because this is the mini energy read I had done on Emmanuel Macron. Also excellent. Definitely recommend going back and watching it if you have not yet seen it. This next segment is a shorty boy. This is on a TV show by the name of Mr. Bean. Very, very, very short segment. So Mr. Bean is a TV show, and the main actor is somebody by the name of Rowan Atkinson. I really don't know that much about it. I'm sorry, guys. But the Mr. Bean TV show, what was shown to me about Rowan Atkinson's energy is that he was just in the right place at the right time. He never expected for the show to be some sort of a cultural phenomenon. And he thanks us for our interest in him, and he wishes us well. Well, that's what I have for you on Mr. Bean and Rowan Atkinson. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, the next topic I was asked to look into is an actor by the name of Kirk Douglas. Now, Kirk Douglas was an American actor. He, at the time of his crossing, he had $72.5 million in estimated financial assets. Kirk Douglas is also the father of the actor Michael Douglas. And I have looked into Michael Douglas and his current wife, Catherine Zeta-Jones, for a previous AMA, which is linked down below. You might actually, if you have not yet seen that segment, want to go back and watch it, because some of the information that was there, it's going to resonate a little bit differently, I think, after hearing the energy read on his father, Kirk Douglas. Okay, so here we go. This is what was shown to me on the energy of Kirk Douglas. He was a dirty old man. Or accurately, he was really a dirty old bastard. Here's why. He was cantankerous as fuck. He could be a brute if he didn't get what he wanted, and he could be a bit of a brute overall. He was also shown to me as not being a flexible person, and he had very exact ways in which he viewed the world. And if you did not agree with him, the fault lay with you, not him. Okay. And why is this? Because according to Kirk Douglas, he was never wrong. He was never wrong with his opinions, his beliefs, nor his actions, including his actions towards women. Lots and lots and lots of women. Because according to him, this is the perspective of Kirk Douglas, not me as your narrator, not me as the energy reader. This is Kirk Douglas's energy. Okay? Got to get that out in advance. Because according to him, pretty little ladies served men and were created for men's enjoyment. Yes, he really thought this way, that God created women to serve men because men were the superior gender. This is what real misogyny actually looks like, in case you don't know. This is misogyny. This right here. This is misogyny. Kirk Douglas was misogynistic. Okay. So he did not see women clearly or see them as anything other than pretty little playthings for men to touch, specifically him, to take, to fondle, to grope, and to taste. What's this? The women don't like it? Well, clearly the women that claim to not like it just needed a dick in their mouth so they couldn't protest about it. Misogyny. Let's just shut the woman up by shoving your dick in her mouth so she can't complain about the way that she's being treated. So yeah, Kirk Douglas, got kind of handsy with the woman on set. But not just the woman on set. He also got handsy with the, hemming at the truth, the pretty little flight attendants on an airplane, or the servers in restaurants, or the woman that he would encounter basically everywhere and anywhere. So there were a lot of people cleaning up Kirk Douglas's mess and putting out the fires that he created. He was shown to me as being a bit of a liability, but he got away with it because he was old Hollywood, so he kind of just skated by. But there were plenty of people who breathed a little deeper when he was too old to act on his impulses, because their job became a lot easier at that point. So that is what I have for you on the energy of Kirk Douglas. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, this next person I was asked to look into is an American actor and martial artist who also served in the military by the name of Chuck Norris. Raise your hands if you were raised watching Delta Force when you were a kid. Hands in the air. I'm a product of the 80s. I had older brothers. I saw Delta Force many, many, many times. It's really the only way that I know Chuck Norris. Although for any Jaden Smith out there, it's obviously not the only contribution he has made to television or film. He went on to have many other endeavors as well. It's just that it's the only one that I remember of him. So let's see what Chuck Norris's energy wanted to share with me. Chuck Norris is a boss. Even at a time when men and their masculinity was not considered to be so-called toxic. Chuck Norris is and was a boss. And what's interesting is that his energy was shown to me as having a kind of genteel way about it, which was in fact something that made him even more deadly. Because if somebody didn't know who he was, but would mistake his genteel nature for being helpless, he could in fact unalive them if they started up with him. So it was good that he ended up in movies, because then a lot of people knew who he was and no one would start up with him. Now, Chuck Norris also shared with me that he felt called to martial arts, and it was inexplicable. Like, he really couldn't even explain why he was so called to it. But he felt, because he was so inexplicably called to it, it must have then meant that it was his calling in a way. And he was glad for it because he loved the discipline that went with it. In some ways, he also shared with me that it saved him, because he says he has the kind of personality that could really overdo things and be incredibly competitive. So if, for example, he went drinking with his buddies and they would have 1 beer, he would have 5. If they would have 2 shots, he would have 5 plus 1 for extra measure, just to show that he could. So finding martial arts was a good thing to throw himself into, because it was not destructive, but was constructive. And yeah, he got to make some movies, and that was fine, but that's really all it was to him. Fine. It wasn't fancy back then, and no one was worshiping actors, so it was really just a job to him. And he shared that his life has value and meaning outside of it and without it, and that's all that really matters to him. And that is what I have for you on Chuck Norris. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. I'm going to skip some pages for the mini energy read that I had done on an actress named Kate Winslet. Excellent. Please go back and watch it if you have not yet seen it. And this next topic that I was asked to look into is an American basketball player by the name of Steph Curry. Now, what's, to me, which is why his segment is going to get some asterisks next to it, to me, what is of note and meaning and importance about him is that Steph Curry received a 4-year, $215 million contract to play basketball. This is not a man that found a cure for cancer. Not that if he found a cure for cancer, they would let it be distributed. Because I remind you, Big Pharma makes too much money on us being sick, dying, and dead. This is not a man that won the Nobel Peace Prize. This is not a man that called for peace in the Middle East. This is a man that gets paid to play basketball for a living and entertain us. You might imagine why. Let us see if your suspicions about his hella big basketball contract is true. Right out of the gates, I'm going to share with you. Steph Curry, surprise, surprise, grew up in the club. Because yes, the club has infiltrated everything. The club inserts their own into everything. Pete Davidson as a comedian, Blake Lively as an actress, Steph Curry as a basketball player. See how that works? Because you don't get a contract worth $45 million per year without it. This is a man that's playing sports for a living and he gets $45 million a year for it. Really? Make it make sense. You can't. The only way it makes sense is because he's in the club and they look out for their own. Now, Steph Curry shared with me that he was born and raised in it, but his father, who was also a basketball player prior to him, was not. His father was not born and didn't grow up in the club, although Steph Curry did. But his father joined the club later on, even once he was an established basketball player in his own right. And thus, therefore, the club had welcomed him in as one of their own, even though his father was a newer addition, because again, they were looking to so-called diversify. And Steph Curry's father even married a young woman that was herself a second-generation club member. So even though, I don't know his father's name, even though Steph Curry's father was not born into the club, he married a woman that was born into the club because for diversification purposes, they really wanted to welcome these people into the club by letting them, if you will, up marry or marry better than their own status in the club. Because usually they like to put people that are more of a complementary status kind of a nature together. But because they really wanted to wine him and dine him and make it oh, you're so valuable to us, he was allowed to marry up level from the status that Steph Curry's father was in fact in. So yes, Steph Curry was born and grew up in the club. So because he was the son of an NBA player, they kept a close eye on him to see if he would develop an aptitude for playing basketball, which of course he did. Now, that did not stop his brother from also getting his own basketball contract, because although his brother is not as good as him, he also got one, because why the fuck not? Thank you, universe, for amplifying exclamation points left, right, and center. Now, what is also incredibly notable is Steph Curry's energy. And this is not unique to him, although this is his energy that I'm specifically looking into, is that Steph does not look at his life nor his circumstances as unusual. Because from his point of view, whether it's worshiping Satan or getting paid millions of dollars to play sports for a living is completely normal. And thus then, therefore, he is living in a way that is so completely disconnected from how other people live. And the way in which he lives is normal. Now, I remember anecdotally, just to kind of like drive this point home, a few years ago, I don't know where he lives somewhere in like Northern California. So he was incredibly vocal about like going to like city town hall meetings and really petitioning. He was like writing letters not in favor of, because in the town that he lives in, which is I guess like some exclusive enclave, they wanted to build, even if it wasn't like low income housing, they wanted to build like apartment buildings. And this is like an exclusive neighborhood where people have like these, you know, mega mansions. So he is so disconnected from reality that it's like, I'm sorry, no. You can't come into my exclusive little neighborhood and build these like ugly eyesore apartment buildings that's gonna change like the energy of my, not that he would use that word, but it's gonna like make my exclusive neighborhood less than. And he came under fire for it because it's like, buddy, you got like probably your own private security. You live like in a house that like, it's not like the people that are going to be living in these apartment buildings are going to come wandering over to you and they're going to like look in your windows and like touch your windows with their dirty little hands or ask for handouts. He's just so disconnected from the rest of reality that this is like an offense to him. It's like an affront. Like, how dare you come into my exclusive neighborhood and want to build apartment buildings? Because he's completely out of touch with reality. His reality is really far different from ours. So he does not look at his life and think he's blessed or lucky or any other platitude that one might say about their so-called success. He grew up in the club and he always knew one way or another, no matter what he did, whether it was playing basketball or whatever the fuck he was going to end up doing, he always knew that one way or another he'd get paid well. So it's kind of the equivalent, if you will, of like growing up in an academic family. It's like growing up in an academic family. So your father went to Yale, your father's father went to Yale, all your uncles went to Yale, your older brothers went to Yale. So of course, when it's your time to go to university, you too are going to go to Yale. It's kind of like that. So growing up, you always knew you too would end up going to Yale. Even though this example, if you will, it's also kind of like out of touch for most people. So it's just like that to Steph Curry. To some extent, his path was always laid out before him, and all he had to do to achieve success was walk it. So he did. And in this case, his path, his walking, his success just happens to be playing basketball. So that is what I have for you on Steph Curry. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. This next one is hella fucking short, but again, in whatever context or duration a person's energy chooses to come into me, I will share it with you. The next segment, hella short, that I was asked to look into is an American rapper by the name of Lil Kim. She's worth just a measly $1 million. My entire interaction with her comprised of the following. She flips me the bird and tells me to fuck off. That is what I have for you on Lil Kim. Any questions, please do let me know down below. Now, this next one that I was asked to look into is an American actor and producer named Morgan Freeman. Now, if you yourself have seen the previous video that I had done on Steffi Graf and Andre Agassi, you might recall that I had mentioned Morgan Freeman in the video. And I was like, you're just gonna have to keep it in mind for the next AMA that I do because he's gonna be in it. So you're gonna come to understand the way in which I said there that the way Steffi Graf looks at people and is surprised by them is diametrically opposed to the way Morgan Freeman looks at people. Here's why. So Morgan Freeman, who is worth $120 million, he has a very balanced and calm demeanor. As the saying goes, either everything is a miracle or nothing is a miracle. And he is one of the people that would say everything is a miracle because he is constantly amazed at the world and by the people that are living in it and our resilience. Now, this is not to say that he has had a miraculous life with no bad days, because frankly, that's unrealistic. Even if you're Morgan Freeman and you're worth $120 million. But it's because that's not how life on Earth pans out. I don't think I need to tell you that. Maybe I do, I don't know. But it is to say that he can easily reframe challenges and challenging situations and see the good in it. Yes, Morgan Freeman shared with me he does know about the industry and he says, quote, "It's a shame," end quote. But he also says that despite it being a shame, there are good people in it. There are always good people everywhere. And yeah, he's worked with some real challenging people, but in situations like that, he thought, well, looking at these challenging people, what can he do to maybe teach this person something that may help them later in life? He's older, so he doesn't mind getting out of these challenging people's ways or getting out of the way of some whippersnapper, young-ass kid looking to make a name for themselves who just will bulldoze over people. But he won't be there to let them make a name at his expense. So he's like, okay, I see who I'm dealing with. You be an asshole. Not that these are the exact words he would use. These are mine. But it's like, okay, I see who you are. I'm going to take a big step back. It's kind of like how I say, you do you, boo. When he sees somebody's nature, he takes a big motherfucking step back. So they're not going to bulldoze over him and they're not going to make a name for themselves at his expense. He also shared with me that he cannot imagine how hard kids today have it when they are trying to get into the industry, when it is basically, according to Morgan Freeman, it's not even about talent anymore. So please consider ourselves lucky to live normal lives because both he knows do not. Now, that is what I have for you on Morgan Freeman. Any questions, please do let me know down below. Now, this next one I was asked to look into is a man by the name of Clint Eastwood. He is an actor, a director, and the former mayor of a sleepy little town called Carmel City, California. He has an estimated net worth of $370 million. Let us see what Clint's energy wanted to share with me. Clint Eastwood is a real salt of the earth kind of guy. And maybe he says it's because he's old-fashioned, but he believes in hard work and a job done right. And a nice hearty dinner at the end of the day. And if we have that, as in a hearty meal at the end of the day, and a bed to sleep in and a roof over our head, we are blessed. And if you're a man and you've got the love of a good woman, you are doubly blessed. And if you are a woman and you've got the love of a good man, you may as well be a unicorn. Now, personally, if it was me sharing this, I would say you may as well be a motherfucking unicorn. But again, because I don't take liberties with the way information comes in, you're not a motherfucking unicorn. You're just a unicorn. because this is Clint's energy, not mine. I just felt I had to interject that. Because guys, I'm sorry, doesn't it just like roll off the tongue so much better? You might as well be a motherfucking unicorn. 2% personal opinion. Just rolls off the tongue better. So yeah, if you're a good woman and you got the love of a good man, you may as well be a unicorn, according to Clint Eastwood. Because he's got eyes. And he sees the world. And let's just say he envies no one. And please, stop looking up to celebrities. They do not have great lives just because they are known worldwide or have big houses or designer anything. And he shared with me, if we do not think devil worship is real, he wishes he could show us the things that he has seen. But not partaken, he's only seen them. And if we don't think that stars sell their souls to the devil, they do. And he knows this because he has seen the empty, vapid shells they become thereafter. In fact, he has even had to cast a few of them in his movies, but he doesn't name names. You can maybe go back at some of his movies and you can extrapolate who you think it might be. He shared with me that the industry, as in the movie industry, is rotten. The people are rotten. This is where the feisty side came out. And they can all go to hell for all he cares. And I was like, yes, Clint, I knew you had it in you. Preach. And he shared with me, he too can't wait for the world, the industry, and people to wake the fuck up. And this time he did say fuck. I was like, Clint, you're speaking my language. So yeah, he cannot wait for the world, the industry, and people to wake the fuck up. And he hopes he is still around to see it. That is what I have for you on Clint Eastwood. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. I am going to be skipping some pages for the channeling I had done on the aforementioned Steffi Graf and Andre Agassi. Excellent video, even if you think you're not going to be interested in it. Guys, I think I was wearing a red lip, red pill. I'm not wearing a red lip today. Here's why. Oh, I'm actually going to shout this out. No, it's not a sponsored video. I like sharing things that I find that I actually genuinely like. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to call out this lip color. It is not a red lip today, and here's why. It's kind of like a magenta lip. I know that you guys love the AMAs. I know I don't need to wear a red lip to convince you I'm in my red pill era and there's going to be truth bombs in it. You guys are going to watch the AMAs anyway. I can do whatever the fuck I want on my lips. So today's not sponsored color is brought to you again by ColourPop. This is a brand that I get in Target. God damn it, do I not love this brand. Their colors are just so rich and pigmented and like, hello there. So this is ColourPop Lippy Sticks, and the name of the color is I Heart This. It's a matte color. It's a magenta. In fact, I might need to do a little reapplication. So I'm just going to show you how beautiful this color is, how seamlessly, apparently I'm a makeup influencer now. There we go. I've transitioned. I'm no longer just an energy reader. I'm now hawking makeup products. Sorry, guys. It's not sponsored though. I really do love this brand. Their colors are just holy fucking hell amazing. So, you know, if I'm like putting this on straight, I mean, if for the next half of the video my lipstick is all wonky, here's why, guys. I just had to show you this amazing, not sponsored color. ColourPop, I Heart This. Let's move the fuck on, shall we? Okay. I'm gonna, again, skip some pages for Steffi Graf and Andre Agassi. Go back and watch that video if you haven't. Red lip, red pill. That's all I was gonna be saying about that. Okay. The next topic I was asked to look into is an actress by the name of Kirsten Dunst. She is an American actress and she has an estimated net worth of $25 million. Now, again, I really try not to bring too much personal opinion into the videos. I say it's approximately 2%. I don't know why I feel compelled, because I think I'm getting into the groove. We're an hour and 20 into it. I'm coming into my own, you know? It's like I'm getting into myself. I'm working all the kinks out. I come alive. We're also in the afternoon hours when I really come alive. Anyway, I remember, again, 2% personal opinion. Me personally, and if you like her as an actress, you do you, boo. I personally do not. Here's why. I remember I think this is the first movie that she was cast in. The name of the movie was Interview with a Vampire. She was cast with Brad Pitt, who, if you're my generation, if you're like a middle-aged woman, I mean, I'm sorry, he's just tasty. Even now, older, 60, facelift and all, I will still take him. But I remember she got cast, and I remember going to see the movie, and I was like, she's not that good of an actress. Like, not that I'm a fantastic actress. I'm not an actress at all. But I was like, in my young mind, I was thinking, I bet I could have done a better job than her. I can't say if that's true or not. I just remember watching Interview with a Vampire. I think they had actually said they had done a nationwide open casting call. So this is like any young person, any young woman who didn't have an agent and wasn't in Hollywood could go and audition for the role that she played in Interview with a Vampire. And I was like, okay, they had an open casting call, and this is, again, 2% personal opinion. This is the best that they could do? Okay. I think even back then, before I was awake, I think I knew something wasn't up. Something just wasn't right. Maybe you're like me. Let's see what Kirsten's energy wanted to share with me. I think I also actually shared all of that in advance. You're going to see why when we get into the energy read on her, which happens right now. So Kirsten Dunst has a self-aggrandizing personality where she really thinks she's just so damn great. She thinks she is because at the time she first entered Hollywood and the club, everyone kept telling her that. As in, everyone kept telling her just how great she was. They told her at castings, at filming, and when they put their filthy little hands and tongue all over her. So she'd smile and pretend how happy it all made her, how much she enjoyed it, because she was in fact more afraid of her mother than she was of them. Because this is what they needed. So she had to keep it together. So she did. She did not want to go back to living in a car while her mom stole pages from a phone book in a diner on what casting agent to take her to next. Now, I'm going to interject, and I'm first and foremost going to say that other than me looking into her net worth, I know nothing about this person. I don't know what is the story that we have been told of what her childhood was like, or how she came to have success. I don't know if they say she came from a perfectly middle-class neighborhood or an upper-class neighborhood, or if they actually, in fact, tell the truth and say she slept in her car at certain periods with her mother. This is the information that came in. This is why I don't go looking to either confirm or deny the goods that the guides bring me. I trust in my guides implicitly. That's why my gifts and abilities continue to get stronger, because I don't go looking to prove or disprove the information they bring to me. I say, you bring it to me, the guides bring the goods. I trust them more than I trust Wikipedia or Google or any fucking thing in this world. I trust my guides first and foremost. And the more we trust our guides, the stronger our gifts and abilities become in time. Just like when we trust ourselves, we get stronger too. So again, I don't know what has been said. I don't know if the so-called three-dimensional information is going to support this. This is according to Kirsten herself. She did not want to go back to living in a car with her mom. So when she finally got cast and all of these things were being done to her because they joined the club, because yes, this happens, not only, and this is going to come into play later on. This is going to come, because I was asked to look into the energy of Billie Eilish's parents. I looked into them. This is going to come into play later on. Parents can absolutely sell their own children into the club. It happens all the time. Go back to any of my previous AMAs. There are so many segments of people saying they were not consulted, they were just inserted into it, and then they had no choice. Justin Timberlake is a great example. What's her name? What's her name? The one that, God damn it, Mia names. It'll come to me later. Not Britney Spears, the other girl that they say, I can see her face so clearly in my mind, but they say she's lost her mind or something like that. It's because she was sold into the club at a young age. She never consented to it. She was a child. It was like, okay, here you go. This is you now. So kids get sold into it all the time. Kirsten Dunst, here you go. Another example of somebody that was sold into it by her mother at a young age. And she just had to go along with it because she didn't want to go back to, not that this would have happened once you're in the club anyway. She didn't know that though. She didn't want to go back to living in the car with her mom. So she knew she just had to smile and never let them see her cry. But these people are, according to Kirsten, all freaks and creeps. And she is so damn, what did I write here? They are all freaks and creeps. And she is so, oh, here we go. She is so damn great. I told you, self-aggrandizing. She is so damn great because she puts up with them all the time. It's like, how did she, in order to make her experiences that she had no control over, how was she able to justify it? Look how great I am. I allow them to do this to me. Not look how disempowered I am. I'm a child being preyed on by adults. She couldn't, her young mind couldn't accept the fact that she had been sold into the club by her mother and that she was completely, had no power and no say over it. So the only way that her young mind could cope with it was look how great I am that I allow this to happen. But she could not care least about what happens to them. And if a meteor hit Earth, like it does in one of her movies, if a meteor hit Earth tomorrow and they all were unalived, it would be fine with her. And if she too were unalived, it would also be fine with her. Because then at least she'd know she'd never be touched again. Because there is no amount of money, nor homes, nor awards that would make what happened to her worthwhile. To her anyway. To her mother, the bitch, Kirsten doesn't mince words. She wants us to know exactly what she thinks of her mother. But to her mother, the bitch, she'd sell her own kin for even a nickel or as little as a dime. Shame her mother wasn't the actress, because maybe if she was, she could have sold herself and left Kirsten alone, but no. So she mostly sticks to herself, save in occasional award show. She smiles and pretends to be happy when she's there, but then she goes home and she vomits. Tinseltown, it isn't. But Shittown? Yeah, she's down with that name for it. So that is what I have for you on Kirsten Dunst. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, this next one I was asked to look into is an American actress by the name of Sally Field. I don't know what she's been in. Sorry, not sorry. I just know she's an actress and she has an estimated net worth of $55 million. Let us see what Sally's energy wanted to share with me. Sally Field had nearly crippling insecurity growing up, which makes it so funny that she ended up in a profession that was all about judging people's appearances and their work. It was not, in fact, her first pick of an occupation to go into, but she kind of got pushed into it, and she regrets what she did for her success. Casting couch, anyone? She asks rhetorically. Because yes, that. Lots of that. And that's why she was genuinely surprised when she was winning awards. Now there is, I think it's Sally Field anyway. Although again, I don't do research. I could be completely mistaking her with someone else. I think she had won an Academy Award, and when she was accepting it, she said, like you could see, she was like so surprised and overwhelmed. She's like, oh my God, you like me. You really do like me. Because she thought the only reason she was getting these roles was because of the casting couch. But that, her winning awards, was in fact the first clue that, oh, maybe she actually had talent and she didn't have to do those things anymore to get roles. So she looks back at herself, at her younger self, and she thinks she was so stupid. She was so naive. And now she sees the industry so clearly. How they prey on people like her. And there's a rotating door at every casting agency recycling wounded people with new names and new faces, but it's always the same issues. And maybe it's not in fact the industry that's the problem, but society that creates these broken people. And she's really glad to not be one of them any longer. That concludes what I have for you on Sally Field. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, this next one, and I really got to start picking up the pace here because we're an hour and a half in and I barely started to like scratch the surface of this notebook for context. This is how much more information I have to share. This is how much I have currently shared, and we're an hour and a half in. So if it gets to be too late, anything I can't get to today will end up being in a future AMA, okay? But I will start picking up the pace. I don't need that right now. I'm going to put that there for a moment. Okay. So the next person whose energy I was asked to look into is Guy Ritchie, who is an English film director, producer, and screenwriter. Now, Guy Ritchie was also married to Madonna from 2000 until 2008, and he is worth an estimated $150 million. Let's see what Guy's energy wanted to share with me. Guy Ritchie was just a bloke that wanted to make movies. He's not sure how the fuck he ended up with Madonna and having a kid with her, because that was not what he was about. And then he clarified. He said, not the kid part, the Madonna part. He, in fact, went on to marry again and has other kids, so it's not like he didn't want to have kids. It's just that really Madonna, he's like, I don't know how the fuck did I end up with her? She was so different from his world, but she wanted to be part of it. She wanted to be part of him, to get inside his mind and to fuse herself to him. And it's like he had a momentary lapse of judgment. His buddies didn't understand him, but tried to be supportive. but he knew they were all relieved when it ended, because he was relieved when it ended. He also shared with me that Madonna, who I have done a previous video on in the past, linked down below, is a tough person to be with. And her world is not the one he wanted to be part of. So he's glad he's back to himself and can do more of what he loves, which is making movies and having fun while doing it. Now, that is what I have for you on Guy Ritchie. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, I also looked into Madonna's other ex-husband, who she was married to prior to Guy Ritchie. I'm going to see if I can find him so I can actually keep them together. And if it takes too long, I'm just going to skip. But let's see if I can find, what's his name? Sean Penn. Because I also looked into Sean Penn. I think I'm coming up on it. How's everybody doing? We all having a good day today? I hope we are. Or whenever you're watching this, I hope you're having a good day. God damn it, do we have so many fucking topics to get through? Man, oh man, oh man. Okay, I really want to find this segment so I can keep it together. Here we go, I found it. Okay, so Sean Penn was also married to Madonna prior to her marrying Guy Ritchie. Now, Sean Penn is an American actor and film director, and he has an estimated net worth of $70 million. Now, let's see what Sean Penn's energy wanted to share with me. Sean Penn is a bit of a douchebag. He has big feelings that he doesn't always know how to process or what to do with. And while he can be deep, he can also be crass and cold. It is his depth that has made him an attractive romantic partner, but when the cold comes in, he is positively frosty and his behavior is crazy making. And even though he's wealthy, he does have $70 million, he thinks it's actually, in fact, all of us that are the entitled ones. Because there are so many more of us than there are of him and his actor buddies. So in his opinion, we, in fact, should be the ones to pay our so-called fair share, according to Sean Penn, instead of it falling on all of the celebrities in his orbit. So in case you were wondering, Sean Penn does not see the world, nor other people in it clearly. He is also very democratic, not that there's anything wrong with that. I discriminate against nobody. You do you, boo, as long as you're high vibe. Then you are always welcome here. I don't care how you vote. But he is very democratic, and he completely believes in the so-called climate crisis. And Zelensky really is his personal hero for taking on the big bad wolf, Russia. So really, Sean Penn is in fact just another out-of-touch celebrity, unfortunately. That is what I have for you on Sean Penn. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Let me now go back. The next topic I was asked to look into is a woman by the name of Cara I think how you pronounce her name, Delvigne. She is a British model and actress, and she has an estimated net worth of $50 million. Let's see what Cara's energy wanted to share with me. Cara had a drinking problem and a drug problem, but more so, in fact, drinking. Because she wanted to be numbed out and in a fugue kind of state where life was like a watercolor painting and everything kind of melded into one another. Because when there was no you or me, then she could not be judged as not being enough, because if everything just kind of melded into each other, there really was no her. So maybe if she drank enough and put enough drugs into her body, she wouldn't be wanted anymore. But no. She had to clean herself up and get back to work and make people money and be a stick-thin little thing. But all she really wants to do is sit on a porch of a lakeside cabin and paint or read a book, or write, or just be. And if she never had to jet set again, she would be the happiest version of herself. All good days. Maybe only good days, if she could just be in one place long enough for it to start to feel like home. Imagine that, she says, a home. Like it's the most preposterous thing you would think of. A home of her own with people she loves and wants to be with, and not people she's put together with because it's good for her career. Fuck that shit, she says. Like seriously, her career dictates who she's to have a life with? Do you see why she started drinking? She asks rhetorically. Her personal life wasn't even her own. And there is actually no amount of money or fame or anything, according to her, that makes this worthwhile. Her life is not glamorous, it's exhausting. What she would do to have a normal life like us. That is what I have for you on Cara Delvigne. Any questions, please do let me know down below. Now this next one is very, very short, but again, no matter how long it is, I bring it to you because the information came in. I was asked to look into a person by the name of James Franco, who is an American actor and filmmaker. He has an estimated net worth of $30 million. And James Franco is a cocky bastard who just learned to hide how cocky, in fact, he is. And to him, it's no great skill. He is an actor after all. That's what I have for you on James Franco. Now, this next topic I was asked to look into, very interesting. What is the true meaning and purpose of somebody having a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Wow. Something I never would have thought of looking into. Now, in case you don't know what it is, so here, not far from where I live, actually in Hollywood, it's kind of like a touristy attraction. There's a street called Hollywood Boulevard, and on Hollywood, there are all of these stars, literal. Like it's the shape of a star, and in the star is somebody's name. And they get in front of the veil, the explanation for somebody having a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is that they have made some sort of meaningful contribution either to, music, acting, producing, directing, or something in the arts and entertainment industry, and they are then celebrated and memorialized by having their name in a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That's what we're told it is in front of the veil. Now, I also know that in order for one to actually have a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, they have to be nominated by a person. So it's not like there's a committee that is just like, oh yeah, we like this person, let's give them one. They have to in fact be nominated, and then there is a board or a committee that then agrees to give them a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Now let's explore behind the veil what the actual meaning and purpose of the actual star is. So the true purpose is to remind the actors or the actresses, the directors, the producers, the whoever the fucks get one, that there is always someone or many someones above them. And they are literal no ones that can be walked all over, just as there are thousands of people who walk all over their stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. And that those that are walking all over these stars are, not my words, this is the information that came in, those that are walking all over these stars are nobody tourists. I can confirm this is true. If you live in California, ain't nobody, going to these tourist traps to like walk and see who's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. It just doesn't happen. It's like when I lived in New York, did I ever go to like the what do you call it? what's that building? God, oh, I'm so unprofessional. It's like comical at this point. The, what's that that's really tall building? I don't even know. It doesn't even make a difference. The point is, wherever you live, if you have tourist attractions, you don't go do those touristy things. I never even went to like the Statue of Liberty until I had family from out of town like visiting, and they were like, let's go to the Statue of Liberty. I lived in New York my whole life. Did I go there? No. Case in point. I live near Hollywood Walk of Fame. I've never gone there since I've lived here. So that was a very long aside. I'm sorry about that, guys. So again, the true meaning and purpose of it is there is always somebody or many somebodies above them, because those that have these stars are nobodies. They're even lower than the nobody tourists that are walking all over their stars, and thousands monthly, maybe millions yearly. So if the nobody tourists are walking all over these stars, then imagine to those in power, these actors are even so much more disposable than we in fact would ever think them to be, because they are perceived to be as lower than the tourists that are walking all over their stars. And why do the powers that be look at these people that have these stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame? Why do they look at them as so much lower and disposable? Because they have sold their soul. They sell their bodies and they debase themselves for fame. So the true purpose of it is to keep anyone with a star in an energetic lowered state, lest they forget themselves and confuse themselves with an actual somebody. Because to those that be in positions of power, they're nobodies. That is what I have for you on the people with a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Any questions or comments, please do let me know. Now, this is a very interesting one. So I was asked to look into the energy of Billie Eilish's family. Now, Billie Eilish, I have looked into her for a segment in a previous AMA, which is also linked down below. I highly recommend going back and seeing it if you have not yet viewed it, because what came in here is really going to make sense in a deeper fundamental way if you have seen that segment. There is no shame in pausing this, going to watch that, and then coming back to watch here if you have not yet seen it. So I was asked to look into the energy of Billie Eilish's mother, which is a woman named Maggie Beard, and her father named Patrick O'Connell. Now, I think I had read that they're both former actors. Suspicious, maybe. Let's see what their energy wanted to share with me. So Billie Eilish's parents were shown to me as having shifty eyes and wouldn't necessarily make eye contact, let alone good eye contact, lest they miss seeing an opportunity. Now, this is not to say that they're exactly grifters, but more like opportunists. I can speak, I promise. More like opportunists. Because boy, did they see an opportunity with her. Now, isn't this fascinating? This is again why I love reading from a notebook. They didn't say they saw an opportunity with Billie, their daughter. They said her, because she, in their eyes anyway, has been so depersonalized to them. She's not even a person anymore. She's just a her. She's not their daughter, Billie. She's just a her. Words matter, guys. Words really matter. And they would sell her out for a lot less than they in fact did. But they're happy that they got what they did and what they continue to get. Now, this is where I'm also going to say, I was being shown something and I wasn't entirely sure what I was being shown. But again, it's what I was shown, so I share it with you. Now, I was shown something in perpetuity, but I wasn't being shown that they are receiving money in perpetuity for selling Billie to the club. Go back and watch the segment on Kirsten Dunst if you have not yet seen it. It connects to this one. They sold her to the club. But they are going to continue to get something in perpetuity, but it isn't money. They got what they got financially, and they will continue to get what they are going to get, or what was promised to them for selling Billie into the club. But the perpetuity is something to do with honor, like them being an honored family, kind of the way that Whitney Houston's family was seen. Because when I had looked into the energy of Whitney Houston, it was shown to me that, like, and again, I didn't even understand what I was seeing at the time, but as I'm starting to see it more and more, it's providing additional context. What was shown to me about Whitney Houston is like she was a reward to her family somehow, and that they were going to be receiving honor, that Whitney was their daughter. It's the same thing here. Billie Eilish's parents are being perceived, the perpetuity that they are receiving is not financial. It has to do with honor and respect, as in they're getting perpetuity in the club with an elevated status of their own position in the club. Yes, this also does happen. If you have not seen the video that I have done on JonBenet Ramsey, please go back and watch it. Families will absolutely sell and sometimes even sacrifice their own children for an elevated status in the club. I also recommend going back and seeing the video that I had done on Aaron Carter. It happens. So the perpetuity that they are receiving is some sort of an honored family. Because there are varying degrees of actual or literal sacrifices one makes to the club. And what they agree to in exchange is what is actually the manifestation of the perpetuity of honor that they will be receiving. Because they allowed Billie to be, this is the word that came in, vacuumed out. And this gives the family an enormous amount of respect. Now, this is again why I said, go watch the segment I had done on Billie Eilish, because this vacuuming out does explain a bit more about the complete void that I had seen in her. Because it's truly like her soul's essence or personality was sucked out of her body. But for what, I cannot even make sense of. Now, this is where I'm going to share with you. So I can sometimes be shown things. I don't have any reference point. I don't have any lens in which to even make sense of it. So something can be shown to me and I can see it and I can be like, I know what I'm seeing, but I don't even understand what I'm seeing. So it's a kind of the equivalent, if you will, of imagine I have a friend that's in med school and we meet for coffee one day and they just are coming home from studying or something. And we're sitting at a cafe drinking our coffee and I'm flipping through my friend's, med school book. Now, I'm not in med school. I don't know these terms. I don't know what anything means, right? So I could be seeing the words that are on the paper in the book. It's not necessarily going to make sense to me. No reference point. So sometimes I am shown things, I don't have any fucking reference point for what it in fact means. So what was shown to me with Billie Eilish and her personality being sucked out of her is the same such thing. I can't even make sense of it. But what was shown to me is unlike anything that I had seen before. But it was shown to me that they had sucked her personality out of her. And her personality then is like a vapor. And they trapped the vapor in a clear ice box. And they can see her, but the vapor, or another way of saying it, is the soul's essence of Billie Eilish, is frozen, which is probably why there's a void when I looked into her. So while I can see it, I don't even understand what's been shown to me. But I can tell you, the parents care not. They are sitting pretty and content with the honor they will receive in perpetuity, the money they have received, and the money they will continue to receive. But despite it, the shifty eyes remain, and who's to say what they might think to sell next? That is what I have for you on Billie Eilish's parents. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, this next one I was asked to look into is the so-called Generation Alpha. Now, this is the demographic that succeeds Gen Z, and these are children that are born between 2010 and 2020. So, holla! Pip, my own little one, is a so-called Generation Alpha. And I love this, because you're gonna see why when I share what actually is the true meaning or what is the potential of Generation Alpha. And here it is. Generation Alpha will be like a generation of gurus. What's a guru? A guru is one that is said to be a dispeller of darkness. That's literally what a guru is said to be, a dispeller of darkness. And collectively, all society will be going through a dark night of the soul. Now, this is where I'm also going to say to you, congratulations, if you personally have already gone through one or more dark nights of the soul, because you may just be better equipped for what's to come. However, this will affect all of us to varying degrees. If you've gone through one or more, you just may be better equipped. Certainly, if you're awake, you're going to be better equipped. Because again, as I had shared, a lot of what's going to come to pass, it's not made for us. It's for those that are still asleep. So, despite that, what's to come will affect all of us. So, for example, imagine doctors who took an oath to do no harm. And then when those doctors start to wake up to the fact that those jabadoodles that they were financially compensated and certainly incentivized to give to all of their patients, even the littlest ones. Imagine when they start to wake up and learn the actual harm they had done by pushing the jabs. Imagine the people with so-called Trump derangement syndrome waking up to the fact that their entire view of him was manipulated and formed by the media. Imagine people waking up to the fact that our social security number allows us to just be tracked and monitored and then evaluated and traded on some dark web stock exchange between countries, because they are. Plus everything else. So yes, there is a collective dark night of the soul coming. But as they say, it is always darkest before the dawn. And in this case, the dawn will be heralded in by Generation Alpha. Now, the name Generation Alpha is very telling and revealing in its own right. Here's why. They are a generation of gurus, wise souls, to pave the way towards a whole new world. And if you think about what the word alpha means, which is a dominant human in a particular group, or a dominant role or position within a particular sphere. So the sphere in this case is the Earth sphere. And they will be the dominant humans, heralding us forward and dispelling darkness along the way. But they are not going to be dominant the way the Cabal is dominant over us. They are not seeking to further suppress us. They are, if you will, acting as humanity's Sherpas, helping us climb the highest of mountains so we can get to our highest potentiality. That is Generation Alpha. They are the dominant humans heralding us forward and dispelling darkness along the way. That is what I have for you on Generation Alpha. Any questions, please do let me know down below. Now, this next topic I was asked to look into is an actress, a British actress by the name of oh God, we're 2 hours in, Butterfinger mouth is upon us. A British actress by the name of Cate Blanchett, who is worth an estimated $95 million. Let's see what her energy wanted to share with me. As soon as I connected to her energy, she started to blush. She likes to be considered a serious actress and not one that joined the ranks, as she calls it. This is her word for the club. So she likes to be considered a serious actress, but not because she joined the ranks or the club to have the serious career that she has had. So I asked, did she have the career she did because she joined the ranks? To which she just blushes more. It's like I offend her. So I let her go and I let her energy go as well. I force red pills upon no one. If my energy just doesn't jive, I read the room and I was like, okay, girl, I got your message loud and clear. I'd be gone now. That is what I have for you on Cate Blanchett. Any questions, please do let me know down below. Now, this next person I was asked to look into is Anthony Hopkins. Anthony Hopkins is a Welsh actor, director, and a writer. If you're a Agent Smith, this is my opinion. Most well known for playing Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs, and he has an estimated net worth of $160 million. Let's see what his energy wanted to share with me. Anthony Hopkins is a serious actor. So you know the expression I had used on the segment on Clint Eastwood where I had salt of the earth? It applies to Anthony Hopkins as well. He is a salt of the earth kind of a person and an actor because he comes to set prepared with notes and ideas to discuss with the director and the co-stars that he shares scenes with. So if you will, he's the opposite of some influencers who get into it to see what they can get for free, and then, yeah, okay, they'll promote what they got, but it's more of an afterthought. So Anthony Hopkins looks to receive nothing, but only to create in its purest form. So one could say that Anthony Hopkins is in fact living his purpose and living in alignment. Because what we all actually came here to do is to create. We have just forgotten it, and we have been lulled to sleep into believing our purpose is to consume. Things like news, shoes, calories, etc. It's in fact not why we're here. We all came here to create. But he is so clear about it because he's just so salt of the earth. He is honest, hardworking, and reliable. And he sees his craft in some ways as being done in service to humanity. Like, look at what we can achieve and what we can create. And that we, too, can do amazing things. And he is not, in case you were wondering, in the club. First of all, he's old school. He's like grandfathered in. But second of all, his energy really came in strong. That being in the club really Like the club itself even offends him tremendously. And also, when he had learned about some of the fringe practices and what he had seen some will do prior to filming, in his opinion, is not genuinely acting. Because if they are opening themselves to entities to film a scene, they're not acting. They're just recreating. They're not acting. And he also shared he knows about some things that he didn't choose to share any further, but what he knows is an affront, like it's an insult to his profession, and he chooses to know no more about it. That is what I have for you on, what's his name? Anthony Hopkins. Any questions, please do let me know down below. Now, this next one I was asked to look into is another actor, this one an American actor, by the name of Dustin Hoffman. He has an estimated net worth of $100 million. Not 100 on a million, 100 million. So Dustin Hoffman's energy shared with me that Anthony Hopkins is kind of what Dustin Hoffman aspires to be. But he said, don't get me wrong. He knows he's talented. He's a good actor, but he just doesn't have the range and fullness to pull from inside of himself to be an Anthony Hopkins. And he knows it. It's kind of like his pineal gland is calcified and he can't break through himself to get to the other side of what he wanted to access. So he settled on being a good enough actor. And to which this, he actually laughed. He's like, I know, that sounds funny. Because he acknowledges his good enough is better than most actors on a good day, or even on most actors' best days. But it is, if you're holding yourself to the standard of an Anthony Hopkins, it is really just good enough for him. And he's content. He's had a good career. He's got to play some truly memorable roles. He worked with great people, and he has had a life that few could dream of. So yeah, he's blessed. So for him, good enough will do. That is what I have on Dustin Hoffman. Any questions, let me know down below. Now, the next one I was asked to look into is an Australian model by the name of Miranda Kerr. Now, Miranda Kerr was married to Orlando Bloom. I don't remember the years. I want to say maybe 2008 until 2011. They had one son together. She then went on to marry the Snapchat founder. So she's not suffering. Don't cry for her, Argentina. Now, in her own right and her own estimated net worth, not what's connected to her husband's, is $60 million. Now, let's see what our energy wanted to share with me. Miranda Kerr shared with me she didn't really ever feel like a model even when she was one. She was tall. She is tall. She's saying she's more like looking back at the time that she was a model, not like I'm no longer tall. She's saying as a model, she was tall, she has a pretty face, and she has potential. But when she looked at herself, she never saw the magnificence she saw in the other models that she worked with. And she also shared with me she did not love working so hard, nor working out the way she did. She also did not love starving herself, nor being objectified, but it felt like a phase that she was going through. Kind of like being a rebellious teenager is a stage and then you grow out of it. The stage that she went through was being a model, but then she grew out of it. And it was not her forever plan like it was for some of the other girls that she worked with. Like they lived and they breathed being a model, but she didn't. She also really didn't like having to walk in a fashion show so short after giving birth. I think what she's referencing here is when she was still a Victoria's Secret model. I don't know how long postpartum she was, but it was enough that she still felt uncomfortable. Where she had walked in the Victoria's Secret fashion show pretty soon after she had her first child. And she shared she did not feel that she was at her best. Her breasts were engorged. She was still bleeding on occasion. She was so sleep deprived and she felt like shit. But yeah, let's stuff her like a sausage into something and send her walking in front of all of those people. She hated it. She also told me marrying Orlando Bloom was like a stage for her too, just the way modeling was, and she's happy they both found what they wanted, even if it is not with each other. She's happier now, focusing on her health and herself and giving her body what it needs, which is something she had never done as a model. So that is what I have for you on Miranda Kerr. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, the next one I was asked to look into is a woman by the name of Audrey Hepburn, who was a British actress who crossed over in 1993. I think arguably, even to the Jaden Smiths, I think one could make the case her most famous roles were the ones in which, I don't know the character's name, but she was in Breakfast at Tiffany's and My Fair Lady. At the time of her crossing in 1993, she had an estimated net worth of $55 million. Let's see what her energy wanted to share with me. Audrey Hepburn shakes her head at what the industry and women in it have become. Where is the respect and the sense of decorum that used to exist? And why are women being treated as little more than common prostitutes? She asks. We, as in us, living now, may have thought that her generation was true traditional or patriarchal, but at least women were treated with decency back then. And she doesn't know what came first. It's the old chicken and the egg circular conversation, isn't it? Did Hollywood start disrespecting women, and that led to us dressing as we do now? Or did we lead the change, marching ourselves straight off the plank and drowning in a sea of a lack of decency? So I asked her if she would be surprised to hear that it's been an agenda that was put into place. To which she raises an eyebrow but says nothing. But what she did next say was that to her, acting was just a career, nothing more. It did not define her as a person, nor consume her, and she certainly didn't become one out for fame. So she's surprised to see how fame itself has become a pursuit of paramount importance, and wonders how this happened. And she asks me if the world has changed that much since her time here, to which I myself just kind of smirk. Because first of all, I'm hardly the authority on culture or societal changes and norms, but also being very awake and speaking to a woman whose energy just observes, but doesn't really see, is not conducive to any sort of a real insightful exchange. So ultimately, I decided not to pursue the exchange any further. And I myself chose to disconnect from her energy, seeking more of an insightful exchange and hoping to find it. So that concludes the energy reading on Audrey Hepburn. Any questions, please do let me know down below. Now, the next topic I was asked to look into is a woman by the name of Raquel Welch, who was an American actress and model and definitely a sex symbol. She had an estimated net worth of $40 million. It's comical. $40 million at the time that she crossed over, which I think was like last year or something like that. So let's see what her energy wanted to share with me. Raquel Welch loved to be worshipped, just as a woman should. So it's not just worship me, I am Raquel Welch. It's ladies, let's all be worshipped because it's as we should be. She embodied a sort of Venus come to life energy, and it oozed out of her. No coincidence she was a sex symbol. What was seen of her on the world stage was her and not some sort of fabrication or representation. She was comfortable in her skin and confident and didn't understand how any woman, a goddess in human form, wouldn't be. Therefore, she did not suffer fools lightly. Not that she was callous, but if someone wanted to blather on about not being treated well in a relationship or complaining how they didn't think they were pretty, she just wouldn't listen to them. Or she would tell them to stop it. Knock it off. Don't talk about yourself that way. Aging, she also shared, didn't even bother her. Yes, she did see how her body was changing, her skin sagging, her youth fading, but for the most part, she took it in stride. She got older. Life goes on. It's not like it wasn't worth living because of it. And at the end of her life, she felt ready to go. She was curious and excited for what came next. But she also shared with me being out of her body has not been easy. Despite aging, she had some attachment to her body, and this whole identity without a body and in existence without it on the other side has been a bit strange for her. It's also been really strange for her to see her past lives that included her being men, and sometimes ugly and overweight ones, because she really identified with her feminine energy, so she's had a hard time seeing her soul hasn't always been that way. Like how much of her personality as Raquel Welch was due to her life and how much was it her soul? It sometimes gives her a headache, but then she remembers she doesn't have a head to have a headache with. And then she starts to feel all out of sorts at the phantom headache her phantom head has. So it's kind of like, I don't know if you guys have ever read about it. It's something called a phantom limb. Like, let's say you have a war vet and they're missing a limb. They sometimes will feel the limb that they're missing, even though they no longer have it any longer. It's wild. So she has a case of a phantom head and phantom headaches, even though she no longer has a head, because she's on the other side and she's nothing but pure energy. So yeah, she's kind of having a wonky time adjusting to her time on the other side. She also shared with me she misses food and eating a great meal. She misses adorning her body in fine garments and really misses decadent warm baths. There's nothing, or there was nothing, like a nice warm bath. But the plus side is to know she lives forever. She lives forever. She lives forever. And her soul does not get old like a body can. So it's a plus. So despite the challenges in adjusting, it's been pretty all right on the other side. Now I'm going to skip some pages because this is, and I gotta sit up because my chair is becoming really uncomfortable. So I'm gonna skip some pages. I'm gonna sit up here. I'm gonna skip on Taylor Swift because this is the channeling that I had done for her. She will get her own video next week. The next topic I actually wasn't asked to look into, but when I had done the video on Hollywood nepotism, one of the names of an example of nepotism is somebody by the name of Jaden Smith. Now, Jaden Smith is the son of Will and Jada Pinkett Smith. He is an American actor and rapper, and as soon as I read his name when I was talking about him in the video on Hollywood nepotism, his energy really wanted to talk to me. So I was like, okay, Jaden, I'm gonna come back to you. Let's see what it is that you want to share with me. Now, he has an estimated net worth of $8 million. Let's see what Jaden's energy was so excited to share. Jaden Smith has an extreme case of body dysmorphia. He sees himself and he sees the body of a boy, but his boy body was used, quote unquote, in a way a woman's body might be used sexually. So he is saying he has been sodomized. And thus, he doesn't know who he is anymore. Body dysmorphia. Now, this is also where he tells me he loves his dad and will not speak unkindly towards him or make any insinuations about him or his friends in conjunction to Jaden. So while he was happy to speak with me, some people or topics were off the table, his father being one of them. Do with that what you will. He also shared with me that while a career was laid out for him, a la Steph Curry and playing basketball, he was not sure he wants what was given to him. And he doesn't want to sound like a whiner or like he's ungrateful, because he's not. He knows being a kid of a big A-list celebrity comes with perks. It's just to say no one consulted with him or his sister about what they wanted. Here you go, you got a career. All you have to do is do it. It was more like, here, this is for you. You have a guaranteed income, exposure, and nice life, and all you have to do is do it. But what if it doesn't call to him or make his heart sing? It's like the 9-to-5 jobs we have to pay bills and to put a roof over our head, but it's the ones that we may hate, or it sucks the life out of ourselves. That's what his career that was given to him does to him. This is how it is for him. He does not like being looked at or being seen or being so widely recognized. And when he feels vulnerable and exposed and not at all comfortable with it. So rather ironic then that the career that was given to him is being an actor and being a rapper or a musician and doing music videos. But how do you say no by what's expected of you by your very famous and popular family who have friends in high places and expect certain things of you? So while from the outside looking in, his life seems so great, or something like that, to him it's a series of shifting and navigating expectations, doing the bare minimum while trying to find himself and carve out a life for himself. So from his point of view, even though his parents are not divorced, despite what Jada Pinkett Smith may have said, to him it feels the way he imagines being a product of a divorced family would feel to the kid. splitting your time between two homes, giving what you can of yourself, and knowing to your parents it's never enough. Because he knows what he does is never enough. Because they expect so much of him and from him, but what they expect isn't of him or from him either. So he wishes he could leave me with something positive and say, because it's not, he wishes, what did I write here? He wishes he could leave me with something positive to say, because it's not like he has a bad life. He doesn't, and he acknowledges it. He just doesn't, because he doesn't have to ever worry about money and ever. He always has a job he can fall back on. He has a family he feels loves him. But he also always feels like he's letting that same family down. So he doesn't have an entirely great life either. 'Cause if it's not 3D things you want, then what is there? He doesn't yet know, but he wants to find out. That is what I have for you on Jaden Smith. Any questions or comments, please do let me know down below. Now, the next topic I was asked to look into is a British author by the name of Agatha Christie. She was actually a dame, Dame Agatha Christie. She wrote 66 detective novels. And at the time of her passing in 1976, she was worth an estimated $20 million. And by today's standards, I don't even want to think about how much that would be. Let's see what Dame Agatha Christie's energy wanted to share with me. Agatha Christie's life was a mystery. And that's what made her such a prolific and fantastic mystery writer. As it's been said, good writers, quote, write about what they know, end quote. And everything she wrote about was some sort of a representation of life to her. So in a way, her writing could be read literally, and it really was read literally, like it was just like a detective novel, it's a mystery, it's a whodunit. But it's also a representation of something she herself was trying to work out in her own mind. Some fundamental life mystery she herself had that she gave a name to and she gave an identity to as a character in one of her books. But the conclusion of the mystery was one that made sense to her of what she was trying to work out. So writing was actually rather complex, and when viewed through this lens, gives the reader a deeper window into her soul. That is what I have for you on Dame Agatha Christie. Any questions, please do let me know. Now, the next person I was asked to look into is a woman by the name of Mindy Kalling. I think that's how you pronounce her last name. She is an American actress, screenwriter, and producer, and she has an estimated net worth of $35 million. Let's see what Mindy's energy wanted to share with me. Mindy always said she wouldn't do it. She wouldn't sell out or become the pretty, skinny girl because that's what she always loved about herself. She was different and unique. In a sea of perfect, pretty, fake people, she was the real one. But that was then, and here she is now. Svelte on Ozempic, plastic-faced with all the plastic surgery she has had, plastic-faced pretty perfection, and surprise, she loves it. To her, being pretty is the equivalent of having money, which she also has. So sure, there's naysayers that say money doesn't buy happiness, but that's usually said by someone without money to make themselves feel better for what they do not have. The normal people will say being pretty is petty and it doesn't make your life better, to which she says they're wrong. Because to her, it has. And she loves all the new attention and by the way, I'm gonna get, even though I said it already and I can't go back and get out ahead of it, I'm just gonna say, this is her opinion. And again, you know, you can't really dispute an opinion because it's not a fact. It's not like 1 + 1 = 2, even though that apparently is now racist. But you can't dispute an opinion because it's something that comes from inside of somebody. It's not like a concrete evidential fact. So she is sharing, in her opinion, being pretty has made her life better. I cannot confirm nor deny that. This is her sharing this. I just want to make that abundantly clear. This is not me sharing this. This is her sharing this. Because some have said, I am pretty, and I don't think that being pretty has made my life any better. I have had a not such a wonderful life. As I have shared with you, being a starseed, we have to be stripped bare of everything that we are not so we can wake up to everything that we are. Mindy Kalling is not one. She's just another shallow, superficial, three-dimensional girl who's like, oh, hey, I've arrived. I'm pretty. 2% personal opinion. And she shared she loves all the new attention she has, even if it's from other celebrities complimenting her on the work she's had done. And to her, it's like belonging to a super special girls club where they talk about the work they had done and by who. This is what lights her up, y'all. So now she's not just the funny, frumpy girl, she's the funny and spectacularly pretty girl too. And that's all she wants to say about that. So that is what I have for you on Mindy Kalling. Any questions, please do let me know down below. Now, the next one I was asked to look into is a woman by the name of Meg Ryan. Meg Ryan is an American actress. She did a boatload of movies in the, I want to say like maybe 90s, maybe the early 2000s. She was married to an actor by the name of Dennis Quaid from 1991 until 2001 when they got divorced, and she has an estimated net worth of $85 million. Let's see what her energy wanted to share with me. Meg Ryan was unhappy in her marriage, and that's why she cheated. Now, ostensibly, I believe she is, I don't remember the name of the movie. She had done a movie with, what's his name? Because Mia names. The guy that was in the movie Gladiator, the first Gladiator. I forget his name. Of course I do. I think they had filmed a movie together. They had had some sort of on-set affair, and that was what led to her getting divorced from Dennis Quaid. So she is sharing she was unhappy in her marriage, and that's why she cheated. There, she said it. She was tired of always feeling tired. Tired of being a mom and a wife and feeling mostly overlooked. And she wanted some spice in her life. She asked me rhetorically, have I tried being middle-aged? like it's a costume you can try on. I'm gonna try on being middle-aged today, and then if I don't like it, I'll go back to being a snotty 20-year-old. To which I would say to her, I didn't, because hand that holds the pen of the channeled information in y'all. I am, in fact, actually a middle-aged woman, and no, I am not trying it on. I can't take it off at the end of the day like my makeup. It's the stage of life that I'm in, Meg Ryan. So she asked me rhetorically, have I tried being middle-aged? Do I know? Yes, I do know, Meg. But do I know how droll and humdrum a middle-aged woman life can be, even if she's an actress? I think she had to put in even if you're an actress, because it's like, she was saying this and I was like, hello, hi, my name is Faye. I'm a middle-aged woman. And I think she was like, oh, I better throw in then like as an actress. Like it makes it somehow, it changed fundamentally what she shared with me because she was an actress. It's like, Meg, honey, do you know how, what were her words? How droll and humdrum any woman, middle-aged woman life can, any middle-aged woman's life can be. 2% personal opinion. And if you're with me, ladies, I know you know what I'm talking about. I'm sorry, I'm getting saucy today. I'm getting spicy. There's something going on. I don't know what's going on. It's like the longer I'm YouTubing, I think you probably can see how that 2% personal opinion, it's starting to get a little blurred. And as Jamara pointed out in the last live stream I had done, that 2% personal opinion, it's like inching towards 5% personal opinion. I'm getting spicy, ladies. It must be because I'm a middle-aged woman. Meg Ryan. And for the record, being middle-aged is fucking fabulous. I wouldn't trade 2% personal opinion, being middle-aged, for being in my 20s again or being in my 30s again. Oh, baby. Even with hot flashes, middle age is where it's at. Put some fire emojis down below if you are with me, ladies. So yes, she asked me rhetorically, have I tried being middle-aged? Do I know how droll and humdrum middle-aged woman lives can be, even if she's an actress? Because acting was just her job. It wasn't her persona, and she had a real and mundane life outside of it. Did she know she'd blow up her life and marriage because of it? Probably. She certainly hoped so, because you don't throw away a perfectly good, albeit boring marriage without a good reason. And you don't throw away a perfectly good and decent husband and father either. So like this, she didn't do, quote unquote, anything but act as the catalyst for some much needed change in her life. And when the decision was made for them to part ways, it wasn't her who pulled the plug on it. Yes, she knows it's a justification, and yes, she still knows it was in response to her actions, but she wanted to feel alive again. She knew the fling would never last, and that's not why she had it. She wasn't looking to replace one husband with a new one, but to have fun and to have spice with someone that was not and never would be husband material. She's kind of taken like a low-key jab or throwing shade at Russell Crowe, that's his name. At Russell Crowe, the man that she had an affair with. It was great and she loved it. Would she do it again? Probably not. Because the spark she created burnt something inside of herself as well. So she guesses hers could be a cautionary tale. That is what I have for you on Meg Ryan. Any questions, please do let me know down below. Now this next one, is he gonna get, oh, he's kind of long. I'm gonna save him and I'm gonna come back to him if we have time at the end. Because this next one is a kind of long segment and he, in theory, could get his own mini energy read. So let's see if we have more time to get to him at the end. But in case you're wondering who this person is, it's Mickey Rourke. And his segment is long enough that he could get a mini energy read. So let's see if he will. Now, the next topic I was asked to look into is what exactly is in the North Pole. This is what was shown to me. And in case you don't know where the North Pole is, it's north. It's a pole, it's north. It's where they say Santa Claus comes from. What's really going on behind the veil there? Here we go. The North Pole was shown to me as a bundle of potent ley lines converging. Now, what are ley lines? Ley lines are essentially a network of energy that flows underground. And depending on the kind of energy that it is, will determine the manifestation of what we may see above ground. Now, I have spoken about this in many previous videos. One of them I wanted to say is on the Cecil Hotel, which is like a hotel in somewhere here in California where like a bunch of weird shit has happened. It's because of the ley lines under the ground there have determined the complementary energy of those that are attracted to that location above ground. So it's kind of, if you will, you can look at ley lines like subway lines and how they serve different areas. And that the people that are on those particular trains will reflect the area as well. So for example, if you think about the subway running under the Upper East Side of Manhattan, which is like a very upper crusty, wealthy neighborhood, this wealthy area is far different than the energy of, for example, the Bronx or Queens or any other area that a New York subway would go through. But now imagine that those areas, whatever they are the way they are because of the energy that flows underground. So not looking at it like the people that you're going to see on any particular subway reflect the people that live there, but imagine the area above ground is the way it is because of the subway and not vice versa. That's kind of the way that it works. But now imagine those areas, oh, I already said that. So ley lines meet at certain convergence points, called energetic convergence points, that serve as so-called train stations where a bunch of trains meet and people can transfer to different trains. Because if you are not familiar with the New York City subway system, not every train stop has a transfer. You could get off, for example, at like, let me think of like a good example, as if I remember. I moved out of New York over a decade ago, but like 66th Street. 66th Street is not a big hub. There's like just one train that runs through there going in both directions, north and south. But if you wanted to get to a train station where you could actually transfer to a different train, you would either take that uptown or you would take it downtown to like maybe 42nd Street. 42nd Street was a big ass motherfucking train station because that also happens to be where New York's Times Square is. So if you were at 66th Street and you were going downtown and you needed to transfer, you would take 66th Street to 42nd Street and then you would transfer because the train you needed to get to a different location downtown, you couldn't get to from 66th Street. So it's kind of like that with an energetic convergence point. It's like a hub of all of these different meeting and intersecting energetic convergence points would be. So back to the North Pole, because you were like, Faye, you got lost there for a minute. I assure you, in this case, I actually didn't. So the North Pole is like a super mega train station where a bunch of different lines meet up. Or it's a mega convergence point where an enormous amount of energetic ley lines meet up. Because the energy there pulses, it's so powerful and potent, the energy pulses. And it was shown to me that people can get quite sick there, like how people can get altitude sickness if they don't first acclimate to a higher altitude. You have to gradually climb up a mountain to allow your body to get used to it. You can't go from like base camp to like Mount Everest in 2 days. You're gonna fucking die. You gotta gradually work your way up the mountain and get used to having less and less oxygen in the air. And in the North Pole, people were shown to me as getting bad headaches. They can experience ringing in their ears. They can get nosebleeds and very bad sleep disturbances. it also amplifies or enhances whatever is going on in a person. So if somebody is anxious, their anxiety will get worse. If someone is experiencing depression, their depression will get worse. And in fact, some people get worked up into a homicidal frenzy. This was shown to me. Because the energy is simply too much for most people to handle. The energetic amplification acts as some sort of a magnet, but I am not sure how. Because it was shown to me that food lasts longer there. Phones either will not charge at all or will not need to be charged, and compasses will not work there at all. The energy is so intense, and it is not pleasant to be in. However, the magnetic properties are so unique that they do have scientists that work there to study it, but not for long periods at a time. And they can only stay on for a max of 36 to 48 hours, and that is only for the very senior scientists that build up a tolerance. But then they have a mandatory 4-day off period before they can work again, because the energy will build up in their system that fast. I was also shown that many people who think that they have been there have not in fact even been there, because the energy is that intense. The only people that can be there are senior level scientists. So people might think they've been to the North Pole, they haven't. People might think they've traveled to the North Pole, they haven't. They haven't in fact even been there. And as far as convergent points go, it's in fact a bit of an anomaly, and there are no other places like it on Earth. So that is what I have for you on the North Pole. Any questions or comments, please do let me know. Now, the next topic I was asked to look into is a young girl by the name of Anne Frank. Yes, I don't say Anne, I say Anne. I have a friend, her daughter's name is Anna. Not Anna, Anna. That's how I say my A's, Anna. It doesn't help with how I say water, because I still pronounce my T's as D's. But yes, Anne Frank. Now, she was a German-born Jewish girl who kept a diary documenting her life while hiding from Nazis during World War II. Her diary has sold over 30 million copies to date and has been published in 67 languages. Let's see what Anne's, it does actually sound kind of funny when I say it that way. Let's see what her energy wanted to share with me. Anne Frank's energy, it only sounds good if you say her last name, is quite far away from the Earth plane. She's taking an extended staycation on her home planet because Anne Frank was a starseed. Dun, 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 the plot thickens. Her soul agreed to come to the Earth plane to have a human experience during World War II to write her well-known diary that gave a voice to some of the littlest victims navigating complex feelings and emotions affecting their personal lives during wartime. Starseeds, as I had mentioned before, must live through dark times because it is the only thing that wakes us up and strips us bare to our purpose in being here. And yeah, going through a world war and having your name be eponymous with it is total starseed vibes. Because could you imagine no diary of Anne Frank existing? She still would have been a starseed had she had come here and lived through the war without writing her diary. However, that would be in which she was a starseed that would not have completed, quote unquote, her mission. Because her specific purpose in coming to the earth plane was to write her diary. That's why she was unalived during World War II. It's what made the diary that much more heavy and weighted and significant and meaningful. Because if she would have survived it and just talked about it, it wouldn't have carried the same level of weight. But because she was unalived and the only thing that remained of her was the diary that she wrote, that was her meaning and purpose in being here. Because it is not all rainbows and butterflies and unicorns. Because she wrote a diary. And in some ways, it was deeply vulnerable for her soul, even on the other side, to have that shared on a big worldwide scale. So while it's nice to romanticize that all starseeds have these fantastical lives because they are in some way helping humanity evolve. But the reality is, it comes with a lot of dark nights of the soul. Sometimes while alive, but sometimes after the soul has crossed over as well, as is the case with Anne. She experienced a war, was unalived in it, and her, because she doesn't take ownership over it, there's no level of attachment, it was her meaning and purpose in being here, her diary, her private thoughts and feelings live on. And though the writing of it was the fulfillment of her purpose in being here, it is still a deeply vulnerable experience for her soul and on the other side. That is what I have for you on Frank. Any questions, please do let me know down below. The next one is a super short one. I was asked to look into the energy of John Cleese, who is an English actor and comedian. This is super short, y'all. He smirks, he winked at me and says, quote, "Not in this lifetime," end quote. That's what I have for you on him. Now, this next one is he going to get his own mini? No, I think I'll do him. Not like I'll actually do him. You'll see why in a minute. I was asked to look into the energy of an actor named Robert Downey Jr., who is an American actor and producer who has a staggering estimated net worth of $300 million. Let's see what his energy wanted to share with me. Robert Downey Jr. was raised in the club. Are you starting to see a theme here? He was raised in the club and he hated it. He hated the pomp and circumstance, the meetings, the weird older ladies with vacant looks in their eyes. Their even weirder husbands who'd look at him with a strange look in their eyes as well. The whole thing was creepy. Creepier still was this whole "you will be an actor" thing. Like, why? Because he was a ham? Because he was a funny kid dealing with so much internal pain, his only outlet was humor? Life wasn't great in the club, but also he soon found out life wasn't great trying to run away from it either. The copious amount of drugs he took to numb himself out and to try to make himself undesirable seriously fucked him up. Some points he thought he was losing touch with reality. He thought his only recourse was to ask a judge to keep him locked up so he could at least try to get sober, because he was really losing it then. But the damn club, somehow, they still wanted him and were still willing to give him a chance after chance after chance after chance. And it wasn't chances he deserved anymore. And he feels like that's really a big deal. Because we've somehow all been conditioned to believe that America loves a comeback kid or a good comeback story, but it's only really true if you're in the club. Because try being a fuck up in any other job or any other industry and you'd be fired and banned from it for future employment. But since you can't ever really leave the club, they always welcome you home. They'll always pull out a chair for you at the table, wink, and say, quote, "We always knew you'd come back around. It was only a matter of time," end quote. Because they do really take care of their own. And at least they have for him. So he surrendered. He cleaned himself up, went to the career that was laid out before him, and he has found he generally has a nice life. He doesn't blame himself for being the rebellious kid, but admits it's nice to have a place to belong, and even he sometimes can block out all that was done to him and believe it. That is what I have for you on Robert Downey Jr. Any questions, please do let me know. We have so many. Oh my God. So many. Too many. Way too many. Way too many. We still have this many to go through. This many pages to go through. It's too many. It's going to take too long. We're already at the 30-minute mark. Let me see what I want to end with. Okay. I'm going to end with somebody by the name of, where is he? I'm going to end with somebody by the name of Paul Rudd, but then I'm going to tell you what I have for the next AMA that's already been channeled, and I already have notes, and I just simply cannot get to because time is of the essence today. I have looked into Benicio del Toro. I've looked into the singer Shawn Mendes, Anne Hathaway, Lou Pearlman, he's going to get his own mini AMA, his own mini energy read. I've also looked into Maria. She's going to be a members video. Hold on, guys. There's so much. I looked into Woody Harrelson, David Hasselhoff, Elizabeth Olsen, Brian Kohberger update. I looked into Alanis Morissette. I looked into Robert Pattinson. I looked into Jude Law. I did an insane amount of channeling, as you can tell. I just can't get to it all right now. I looked into Bella Thorne. That's all I have. If you have topics you want me to look into for the next AMA, comment down below, let me know. I do still have a very, very long running list, but I always welcome any and all new energy that you guys want to share. Now I'm going to end with an actor by the name of Paul Rudd. Then I'm going to do... I also looked into Gayle King. Sorry, I've been very proficient lately. Now, I'm also going to end with this new segment that I've done, which is if I get like a little hit on somebody, then I'll tell you what came in, but it's not like a full energy read. And I think this is a segment that you guys are enjoying, so I'm going to end on it. But first, let's get through Paul Rudd, because his energy really nicely ties together so much of what we've been exploring in this entire AMA that I want to end with him. So here we go. Paul Rudd is an American actor worth $70 million. Here we go. Paul Rudd wore them down. Or was he the one that was worn down in the end? Now, in case you don't know who he was, he played Alicia Silverstone's stepbrother in the movie Clueless. Just for context of who he is, okay? So he wore them down, or was he the one that was worn down in the end? He forgets about it because he's arrived. Finally, he was welcomed into the inner sanctum, and it's been everything he wanted and more. He knew it would be, and by being patient and keeping his head down and his mouth shut and always showing up on set with a good attitude, it paid off. Yup, in case you were wondering, Paul Rudd is talking about the club and how he became a proud member of it. A really proud member of it. Like, really proud of it. And he couldn't be more proud of the way it was announced to those who knew. Because by being crowned People magazine's sexiest man alive. Now, 2% personal opinion. Paul Rudd is not bad looking, but really he doesn't, in my opinion, and it's my video and it's me who's sharing my opinion, in my opinion, he does not hold a candle to Brad Pitt. And while neither George Clooney nor Richard Gere are my type, they have also both been crowned sexiest man alive. But Paul Rudd? Really? The skinny white dude? Nah, man. Nah. He ain't the sexiest man alive. To me. But the message wasn't for us, nor was it to convince us of anything. It's not to convince us he's the sexiest man alive. That wasn't even the purpose in naming him sexiest man alive. It was, in fact, a message to those also in the club that Paul Rudd is, quote, a friend of ours, end quote, as in he has now arrived and he has now joined the club. Maybe we can take this and what we know about it and look at other people that were crowned sexiest man alive and maybe apply the same standard to them. Maybe, although some of them really were in their heyday sexy. But the message was not for us. It was for those in the club that Paul Rudd is a friend of ours, because he has joined the club and is one of them. And he is just so dang happy and smug about it. And frankly, it's a little gross. Especially because I can see what he's done, but will not share because it's gross. Especially because I can see what he has done to join the club and it isn't pleasant. But not to him it isn't. It's just what he's always wanted to do. Wanted. Not like I need to do this. Wanted. And it's gross and disturbing. Because to him, if that's what was expected of him and needed of him, he would do it for his brother in arms and his family, which is how he sees the other members of the club. They are family, and sometimes in a more profound way than his own birth family. And why? They're the ones that will always have his back. The ones that have seen the darkest parts of his soul because of what he's done to join the club and accept him anyway. And what's wrong with that, he asks me. Like, why can't we all just be happy for him? And I have so many thoughts going through my mind at the time, and I'm not sure which one to go with, because he, Paul Rudd, by his own admissions, doesn't see anything wrong with what he's done. So admonishing him won't work. And he is too deep in it to see himself clearly or see how what he's done is wrong. because he feels accepted for it. And it's like, oh, hey, look, all these people, they already saw the darkest parts of me and we're all groovy about it. So obviously there's nothing wrong with it. So because he feels accepted for it, instead, I choose to disconnect from his energy and go my separate ways from him. That is what I have for you on Paul Rudd. Now, we're going to end today's AMA with this new segment that I'm doing, which is, again, I get a name you're asking me to look into, and I get maybe a small hit. It could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be a sentence, it could be a hella short little thing, but it's not enough to comprise a segment in an AMA, but still something came in. So when that happens, this new segment, we're going to be ending with it. It's where I share the name and what has come in. Okay, so here we go. The first person who I was asked to look into and I got a hit on is the director Francis Ford Coppola. And what came in on him? Deep in the club. Like so damn deep in the club, he's like a founding father deep in the club. I was also asked to look into the mob boss in New York, the former mob boss John Gotti. What came in is that he was implanted. He was a plant put into the mob. I was asked to look into the actress by the name of Chloe Sevigny, and what came in for her is big dick energy. Do with that what you will. I was asked to look into Kathy Hilton, and the word that came in on her is snob. I was asked to look into the actress Sharon Tate. What came in is one word: sacrifice. Sharon Tate was married to the director Roman Polanski. She was unalived by Charles Manson's followers. Sharon Tate was a sacrifice. I was asked to look into LeBron James. What came in, I will stand by this till the day that I die: cyborg. He's a cyborg human blend. He's like a GMO humanist, if you will. He's modified, just not modified food material. He's a modified human with cyborg. I don't know if it's intelligence or if it's like a cyborg something. He has like some motherboard in his brain. He's not organic material. He is a cyborg human blend. He is a GMO human being. Genetically modified human being. I was asked to look into John D. Rockefeller. I promise I will get to him one day because I'm genuinely curious about him. But the word that came in on him is demon. I was asked to look into Danny DeVito. The word that came in for him, extraterrestrial. I was asked to look into Grace Jones. The word that also came in for Grace Jones, extraterrestrial. Pierce Brosnan. The word that came in for him, loyal AF. The word that came in on actor Terrence Howard is narcissist. I was asked to look into AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. The word that came in for her, this was wild, plant. She was implanted, just like John Gotti was implanted. The whole Kendrick Lamar and Drake brouhaha, the word that came in on those two, quote, distraction. These next two are wild. These are people I used to wake when I was starting to wake up. So this kind of took me by surprise. No one asked me to look into them, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with them. Simon Parks and Charlie Ward. These are two people that have been very outspoken about what's going on supposedly in the world. And it's been said that Charlie Ward has a non-disclosure that he has signed with the White Hats, and therefore he can't tell us everything there is to tell us. And Simon Parks sells himself as some sort of a spiritual guru. The word that came in on these two, quote, fraud, end quote. I was asked to look into... I'm telling you guys, energy reader will never be boring. I forgot about these. This was like tucked somewhere in the middle of my notebook. And I like pulled it out because I was like, I gotta make sure I don't forget to say this at the end of the video. I forgot about this one. I was asked to look into the energy of Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa, the word that came in for Mother Teresa, quote, one word, man. I was asked to look into Tila Tequila. I think she's like an actress or something. The word that came in on Tila Tequila, clone. I was asked to look into Nick Carter, who is the older brother of Aaron Carter. He was in, I want to say the band Backstreet Boys maybe. The word that came in for him, empty. I was asked to look into Rosa Parks. I believe Rosa Parks, is she the woman, not plural. She is the woman, not woman. She didn't give her, she was sitting on the bus and a white person asked her to get up and move and she refused, right? I think that's Rosa Parks, because again, I don't research my topics. 2 words came in on Rosa Parks. One of them I have a feeling is not going to surprise you. 2 words. 1, pioneer. 2, starseed. I have a feeling starseed probably hasn't surprised anyone here. I was asked to look into Joseph Stalin. Joseph Stalin was the former leader of Russia. Now I just look ignorant. This is embarrassing. Okay, maybe I don't know who fucking Rosa Parks is, but like, really? Joseph Stalin? I'm a product of Russia. How do I not know who Joseph Stalin is? I'm such an ignorant American. It's shameful. For shame, Faye, for shame. The words that came in on Joseph Stalin, quote, plant gone rogue, end quote. We already have 3 so far. So John Gotti was a plant, AOC is a plant, Joseph Stalin was a plant gone rogue. Next one, may or may not be a surprise. Again, because I was mentioning the video I had done in the past on JonBenet Ramsey. I have been asked many times to look into Madeleine McCann. The word that came in, Madeleine McCann, the little girl who went missing, and I want to say maybe like Portugal. Her parents were at a resort in Portugal. She went missing. Somebody went into the hotel suite and took her out of it while the parents were having dinner with a bunch of other families at this resort, like 50 feet away. And one person was always going back to check on all of the kids. Madeleine McCann had, I think, twin siblings that were sleeping in the same room or another room. She was the one that was taken. She has never been found. Her family has continued to talk about her and trying to find her. Do you want to know the word that came in for Madeleine McCann? Sacrifice. Go back and watch the video on JonBenet Ramsey if you haven't yet seen it. Yes, people in the club will sacrifice their own for an elevated status in the club. I was asked to look into the planet, I think it's pronounced Nibiru or Nibiru. I was running out of room here, so I kind of scribbled it. The word that came in is second Earth. Planet Nibiru or Nibiru, I'm not sure. I was asked to look into French Montana, who, I told you I say A's that way. He's not French Montana, he's French how did I say it? Montana. The words that came in to describe him, lost values. Lastly, the person whose energy came in super briefly, the singer Tom Petty, what came in on him? Sellout. You can do with that also what you will. That concludes our new AMA segment. Please let me know if you are enjoying these itty tiny little bits. And if you would like for me to continue to share them with you on an ongoing basis, even if you don't want me to. Here's the secret. Even if you don't want me to, I'm going to continue to, because I do. But if you're enjoying it and you'd like to let me know, it would be a great, really appreciate it if you would let me know down below. Now, this is also going to conclude today's AMA. Super long. I hope you have enjoyed it. I remind you here right now, please take what resonates and leave the rest behind. If you got something out of it, great. If you didn't, maybe the message wasn't for you, but there's someone else, same segment, You may hate it, somebody else may love it, because we all are going to get something different out of the energy reading, okay? This is also what I'm going to remind you. In addition to taking what resonates and to leaving the rest behind, please do yourself a solid. Stay in the high vibration from now until the next video and every moment in between. I love you. Goodbye. Have a wonderful afternoon, and I will see you in the next video.